Welcome to Violin Adventures number 258. It's so good to be back with all of you again. There's a little bit of the cleanup and then back into violin making the way it should be. Here's the shop. It is in disarray. We've got to get it back to working order. Candle room is ready. Now let's move on to the big room. Well, we have a surprise here that came in the mail from one of our fans out there. Here is a painting of hide glue only with the gavel. So here it is, says Violin Adventures and then hide glue only exclamation. So a big thank you. This will go on the wall somewhere. It's very fun. Thank you for all that effort. As quite an artist to do all of that on this violin. So here's our new violin. We left off just setting the neck. So now I have this block here that I need to take down and blend in with the neck. So I'll see you as soon as I get that done. Okay, it's time to drill the holes for the pegs. This is so nice. It feels good and it works so well. Okay, here is our new violin. I just got the strings on, got it tuned up, and let's hear how it sounds. Definitely got the volume. Okay, it's like a cannon. The sound is so big and loud. There's two things going on right now. My camera, the battery is almost dead, so I need to hook it up real quick, and I'm going to give my violin a little break. Those molecules are just waking up, but they are screaming right now. So I'm going to give it a break, let everything settle down a bit, and then we'll come back and play it. Okay, it's the next day. Let's see how this is sounding. Okay, it's very responsive, and I want to just keep playing it. It's just starting to wake up. So we'll need to play this for at least 2 weeks before we start varnishing it. Excited to hear how this is going to keep opening up. Okay, I've got one more day to play this before the next episode comes out. Of course, we got to play Shalom at the end. Okay, this is the third day for our new violin. Let's see how it sounds. It's getting better and better each day. It started out good and it's just going to get better. That's the way handmade instruments are. If they start out good, they're going to get better. So I'm excited for this instrument. We'll play Shalom at the end. Time for a story. All right, it's time for a story. We're reading in Violins and Violinists by Franz Farga, and we're getting near the end. And there's a chapter on the Romantics, and so I picked one out here that might be interesting. One of de Bayot's pupils was destined to surpass his teacher, Henri Vieuxtemps, who was born in 1820. This magnificent violinist has become almost a symbol for Belgian music, not only as that country's finest virtuoso, but also as its greatest composer of violin music. Like Spohr, he presented his colleagues with a large number of very melodious, colorful, and ingenious works, many of which are up to Paganini's standard, or at least they could not have been written without Paganini's example. They are now an indispensable part of modern violin training. Vieuxtemps was the son of poor weavers. His father played the fiddle, and Henri learned from him the rudiments of the instrument when he was only 4. At the age of 6, he played in public, and the news of this infant prodigy was brought to Liege. There, the music society interested himself in the boy, and a concert was arranged for him. He roused great enthusiasm and was presented with a torte bow. Torte bow is a great bow. A year later, he gave a concert in Brussels. A prominent critic wrote about him, "The boy must have had a violin to play with when he was in swaddling clothes. His completely natural playing is most charming." He wrote his first solo piece for the following concert. As his family was so poor, he had to make money for them at all costs, so he played at garden concerts in the summer. On one of these occasions, de Bayot heard him, invited his family to Brussels, and offered to train Henri free of charge. Simultaneously, he petitioned the King of the Netherlands to grant the young musician a scholarship. Henri was granted 300 guilders a year, which enabled him to remain in de Bayot's care for 4 years, until the latter said, "That's enough. Now off you go to Paris." Vieuxtemps was then only 12 years old. After his first Paris concert, the music critic began his appraisal with the words, "Yesterday, we heard a violinist who was scarcely taller than his bow. In musicianship, however, he is a giant." Vieuxtemps is the born fiddler. As a result of Belgium's independence, de Bayot lost his position in the King of the Netherlands private band, and Vieuxtemps's scholarship grant came to an end for the same reason. But he was no longer in need of a teacher, and his parents were taken care of by an annuity of 600 francs granted by the new King of Belgium, Leopold I. This enabled Henri to go on his first concert tour to Germany and Austria. Spohr heard him, and when he had played Spohr's G minor concerto, he embraced him and said, "I couldn't have done better myself." Thus the German romantic of the violin greeted his Belgian successor. In Frankfurt, Vieuxtemps heard Fidelio for the first time. He was so moved that he refused to play for several days, the shadow of Beethoven making him feel infinitely small and insignificant. This devotion to the genius of Beethoven deepened in Vienna. He could not help thinking of Rudolf Kreutzer. De Bayot had told him that Kreutzer, scornfully pushing aside the sonata Beethoven had dedicated to him, had remarked, "The old man is crazy." He never troubled to play this work in public. Vieuxtemps heard another one play the sonata and was moved to tears. "The wretch!" he exclaimed, thinking of Kreutzer. "He may have been a great violinist, but he should have gone down on his knees before that god of music and asked forgiveness." In this mood, he studied Beethoven's violin concerto for a concert arranged for him. Although he had only 2 weeks in which to do this, he played the work so superbly that Lannoy told him in the presence of other musicians, "You are on your way to becoming Europe's finest violinist." Leipzig was the next stop. Here Schumann heard him, and wrote about the magic circle which the young Belgian drew around his listeners. In London, Vieuxtemps was as equally successful, but what was more important, it was here that he heard Paganini for the first time. That was a revelation. What were violinists like Spohr, Mayceder, and de Bayeux compared with this man? Everything about the virtuoso impressed Vieuxtemps, his ghostly appearance no less than his miraculous technique. When Paganini appeared before the audience, Vieuxtemps said there was a long, noisy applause which seemed to amuse him for a while. When he had had enough of it, he looked at the audience almost threateningly, lifted the violin, and played a run like a rocket from the G string up to the highest position with such a powerful tone and so brilliantly that it almost caused giddiness and electrified every listener. Everybody willingly submitted to his art. I understood the enormous intensity of his playing, although I did not understand his technical resources. From that day forward, Paganini was my model, both as a violinist and as a composer. And that was what Vieuxtemps said about Paganini. Vieuxtemps met Paganini at the house of the hospitable Dr. Violin, who entertained every artist visiting England. Paganini asked him to play and was very pleased with what he heard. He did not stint his praise and insisted on Vieuxtemps sitting next to him at the dinner table. On this occasion, Paganini gave Vieuxtemps some sound advice on how to practice in order to keep in top form. In 1840, after several months' illness and convalescence, during which he composed his first concerto in E major, Vieuxtemps traveled to Russia. He played these two works in St. Petersburg with great success. The audience was enthralled by this 20-year-old virtuoso who seemed such an unusually gifted composer, too. The critics were unanimous in their praise. Vieuxtemps signifies by the perfection of his compositions and their equally magnificent rendering a revolution in modern violin playing, of which he is the undisputed master. The future belongs to this school, for it combines classical discipline with the elegant grace of new ideas. To summarize Vieuxtemps' further career, it is sufficient to say that with his numerous concert tours and compositions, he reaped a plentiful harvest and was renowned in America as well as Europe. Toward the end of his life, he had a stroke and died in 1881. And then it goes on to talk about some of his compositions. Now, I'm looking ahead in the book. There's just a few pages more, our book here. And so I'll probably look through and see if there's anything real interesting, and then we might go on to another book. Freddie wants to chat.
Hi, I'm Freddie, and my best friend, Mr. Thomas Pinch, he sent me a little video, and he called it Freddie's Garden. Yay! Here it is. Thank you, Mr. Thomas Pinch. I really like that. Wow. And another friend, his name is Mr. Jolt Barondi, and he sent me some repairs that he's working on. So here they are. for sending in your projects, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
The Hebrew Minute. Rotzeh Hashem et Yeraiv et Ham Yechalim Lachazdo. The Lord delights in those who fear him and those who hope in his mercy, but this is also his loving kindness, his goodness, his faithfulness. If you know where this is found, please leave it in the comments below. Well, here it is in the afternoon. You can hear the cicadas all over, making a lot of noise. And it's a beautiful day. Let's go in and see what's happening in the shop. Well, here we are in the shop. We're almost back to normal. Let's see what we have on the workbenches. Well, here's some drawers to a desk that needs to be put together. Here's the surprise violin. When you turn it over, oh, what do you see? So a big thank you for that remarkable painting. And over here is our new violin. All finished in the white. And now we just need to play this for a couple weeks before we varnish it. And I'm excited about doing a darker varnish on this violin. And here we have a dehumidifier. He doesn't really fit in this old-time workshop, but it's a necessary item. So in some of the clips, you might hear this little fellow humming in the background. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your comments, for your thumbs up, and to the new subscribers. And until next time, bye.